Okay. Yeah, so welcome everybody. Thank you for giving up your Tuesday evening. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel pretty devastated, really, that Berkeley Group have submitted an outline planning application to increase the number of homes on the Green Quarter site from 3,750 to 8,100. And, I just cannot believe they want to more than double the number of homes on that site. And when a few of us went to their consultation a few weeks ago, we were told they're not going to actually expand the footprint of the site. They are going to actually add more stories to the towers that they're going to construct. And I was kind of like reeling, thinking about more homes. But it's not only that development. You've got to look at all the other developments that are taking place or planned for. So you've got Beaker Road. Half of the college was sold off, so flats are being built there. There are two sites on Park Avenue. You've got blocks going up on Southall Market. Joe kindly reminded me about Hamborough Tavern. There's an application to build flats there, or if it hasn't gone in, it will be going in shortly. Where else? Around the back of the Dominion Centre, Peabody are going to be building
Merrick Road.
flats. Merrick Road, the Marriage Palace Place. I can't remember the exact title on Merrick Road.
Oh, sorry, no, the centre.
Yeah, the centre. Yeah, thank you. So, they've submitted an application to build flats. The margarine factory, and it's just kind of like never ending. And we went to a meeting online with a developer who submitted an application to build student style accommodation. Do you know where the old Barclays Bank building is?
Yeah, the little roundabout
in the green. Yeah. I don't know what's happened to that, but we were told at the same meeting, we told about the banqueting place, and also they mentioned, and it's been shut for a long time, the DSS building. What is it called? The King's Centre or something like that, but on the other side. So we're going to have, tens of thousands of people, multiples of thousands of people moving into Southall. And we don't have, as far as I'm concerned, the infrastructure. So what does it mean for residents? We already know that the surgery on Beaker Road shut down, and that was actually the nearest surgery to the Green Quarter. And from time to time, you'll see new inhabitants who've joined the various Facebook groups like Southall Friends and Community, and they're making inquiries, where can I actually register? What's the best GP? So I will imagine, it won't be long before the GP lists are full, and, it's going to be difficult. I mean, it's difficult enough as it is to get a GP appointment. Ealing Hospital seems to have been downgraded somewhat. There are no maternity services there. There isn't a paediatrics ward. And the tendency is for people to refer to other hospitals outside of the borough. Schools are probably going to have waiting lists and be oversubscribed. I mean, I know that my children's high school, Featherstone High School, is already oversubscribed. For me, it's a pretty grim picture. And really, this has to be a call to action to people who live in Southall to say enough is enough. Go on Ealing Council's planning portal and type in the planning search box reference 234110 OUT And there are various reasons that you can tick for objecting to the application, and a box where you can actually type in comments. So 3 people have done it so far, but obviously 3 people are not enough. So, we've really got to impress upon people how bad it's going to be if Berkeley Group get their way.
And if I just come in here,
yeah, of course,
talk about the GP calls, I'll give you so I've got a picture on my phone of how many calls I take a day, as I have to submit this to NHS England as proof that I'm doing my job, in essence. On the 20 hold up, what date is this? Give me 1 second. Sorry, I should have had the date. My apologies, guys. On the 27th of October, 2023, I personally took 161 calls. Out of those 161, 22 were missed. As in 161 calls came to my direct line. Out of that 161, 22 calls, before they even got to speak to me, hung up. Whether they got fed up, whether their line got disconnected, whether the waiting time was too long, I will never know. But that's what missed calls are. Out of those 161 calls, 145 calls were triaged by myself. 44 of those calls, give me 1 second, sorry, it's a video, so it's me. 44 of those calls were queued between 5 and 10 minutes. 51 of those calls were queued between 1 and 5 minutes. 17 of those calls were queued for only 1 minute. And it doesn't state the rest for some reason. But you could just imagine myself at 8 a.m., back-to-back calls. Of course, every single one of here might have called a GP in the last year. I mean, I certainly have. I don't know about you guys. I certainly have. And I'm sick and tired of waiting on the phone. Even though I've been on the other side, I know how stressful it is to get those calls answered. This morning alone, I had to make a GP appointment. I waited 27 and a half minutes. I was caller number 2. When I spoke to the receptionist, she said, I'm the only one on the phones. And I've got nobody else. My patient list of the surgery I work for is close to 7,500 now. Reduced from 10,000 at the start of this year. Now, a lot of people are asking why it's reduced. That's down to myself. Because as NHS guidance states, within 24 hours, you should be seen for any cardiac-related issues. Within 72 hours, you should be seen for any minor alignments, which can be dealt with self-treatment and whatnot for the first couple of days. And then if you need to see a GP, you call back. I mild colds, flus and stuff. What I normally say to patients, try something over the counter for 5 days minimum. Most over the counter treatments do work. However, the issue we have is a lot of our population has got a MET card, which is a medical exemption card. I've got one myself because I'm on certain medication. So you can have one if you're diabetic, if you're on long-term medicine, if you're asthmatic. So you don't have to pay $9.50 a pop. Now saying that, a lot of people need to realize that, yes, we are very oversubscribed in the NHS, especially in Ealing. These flats, I was just having a look, are coming at Berkeley Group. If you look at their latest status post on their properties, apartment, 1 bedroom, you're looking at for a 482 square foot property, you're looking at £400,000. £400,000 for a 1 bedroom property.
Crazy money.
In the late 80s, when my grandfather brought his 3-bed house, which is now converted into 5, he paid £60,000 for. That property is now worth well over £1.2 million. And that's not down to we being in London. That is down to the level of congestion in the area, the level of development, the level of even the transport links. I mean, Arjun, you're a transport expert, I call you. You know the Elizabeth line. It was a massive driving point for Ealing, Southall, to push the prices up because it's the fastest line, I believe. I might be speaking up turn, Arjun, you will know.
Yeah, they say it's fast, but being a commuter on the thing
It's
4
very
5
slow.
times
There's
a week,
always delays.
cancellations,
Yeah.
you can't
And
get anywhere.
this is where this comes into it.
Yeah.
What I have, and I always say this to TFL staff, I started my journey well off peak, round about 3. I needed to head to Canary Wharf. I did a 2-hour journey on the Elizabeth line. That journey should not take 2 hours. It should take max about 54, 55 minutes, door to door.
Mm.
From here to Paddington, get a train to Shenfield.
Do you know, there's even
But
like
cancellations, there's terminations, there's all sorts. And
Yeah,
there is
like-
no scheme in place to protect individuals. The other day, me and my wife traveled to back from Euston Station. Even the diamond readers of the cards, the Oyster card, which they are trying to phase out. I tapped my Oyster, my wife tapped her Oyster. It charged me an excess over £14 something because it said no reader touch. I spoke to TFL staff at Ealing Broadway Station. They said you did half your journey on the Elizabeth and you did half your journey on the Underground. We can't help you. I then called into TFL. They don't want to help because they go, it's your issue if you didn't touch. I go, well, if the barriers opened, how did they open then? They go, maybe it's a sense error. Well, then that's a TFL error. So I do not top up an Oyster card now because there is no point. Because people like us who are actually genuine travelers, who actually are honest enough to touch an Oyster card,
yeah,
get charged stupid prices. These fear evaders, what happens to them? Nothing. But that's besides the point. Just going back to the infrastructure now. The waiting times for GPs are way too long. The waiting time in A&E is way too long. In the Midlands, where my missus is from, I had to go to A&E. It took me 54 minutes in and out to see a nurse, to see a consultant, to get diagnosed, to get an X-ray done and the report come out. And I left within 54 minutes. Because I've got the discharge summary and it tells you what time you entered and what time you were discharged. 54 minutes. That is a world record to me, to be in and out of a hospital.
Can I mention something? Sorry,
Go
Sophia.
for it, Arjun.
Like, was it last month? My grandma was admitted to hospital, so for just for health reasons. So they just thought we had a nurse come in and stuff, and just check her over. They said she called an ambulance. They said they'll be there within 2 hours. Just for an ambulance in itself, we had to wait 4 or 5. So we made the call around about 1:30. It didn't come till about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And here she was, and her health was deteriorating within that 4 or 5 hours. So I called and called and called. They said, well, they can't do anything. So
Yeah,
that could be.
I mean, Arjun, just a bit of advice for everyone, actually. Everybody.
Because I never dealt with ambulances ever.
No, just a bit of advice for everyone.
So.
Whenever you get a phone, when you're on the phone with 999 or 111, always get something called the case ID. It's a 5-digit reference number, unique to your call. What that does, it speeds up your process. Every time you call in, you say, I've got a reference number, where is this ambulance? And you carry on pressing them. 5 hours is a joke, especially if it's an elderly patient. Obviously, I don't know your grandma's age. If she's over 70, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, she's over 70, Sophia.
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened regardless, because anybody over the age of 70 is deemed as vulnerable. And now it's got to a point where I've seen it firsthand when I was doing some work for Ealing Hospital. The paramedics there just sit there for 2 hours stationary. They're in their ambulances. They just sit there on the phone. You telling me there's no calls in Ealing? Because whenever anybody I know has called a paramedic, they're saying, we'll get one out to you as soon as possible, as soon as we've got one available. Me, myself, with a relative of mine, 3.5 hours a couple of weeks ago, 3.5 hours. When the ambulance turned up there, they go, we're doing a shift swap. There is no shift swap midday.
That's
Shift
what they.
swap at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for paramedics in London under the
That's
LA.
what they. That's what they said to. That's what they said to my family at 8 o'clock in the evening. 8
Yeah, I
o'clock.
mean, it could have been the case because 7 p.m. is the
Yeah,
switch.
yeah. But this was 8 o'clock where they said
They
that.
have not, they aren't delivering. Our taxes are being used for other means, which is not on.
Yeah.
So
Sophie, can I just stop you there for 1 minute? Because let's bring it back to ostensibly what is overdevelopment of Southall. The Berkeley Group submitting an application for 8,100 flats, right? Now, what do you think is going to be the impact on GPs and the local hospital, Ealing Hospital?
So number one, GPs are gonna double inpatient lists easily. A GP cannot close its waiting list. Yeah, a GP always has to register a patient. If you go to a GP, they have to register you if you've got an NHS number. Or even if you don't, you have to get applied by a GMS1. So your waiting lists are gonna go longer. There is gonna be more strain on you. Your QOF numbers are gonna be all over the place. But that's an internal issue we have. But these are all factors Berkeley Group need to put in mind. Their residents, call in the what I say the white blocks, so like the white brick blocks, they're all private, they're all privately owned. They might be able to afford private healthcare.
But maybe not.
Yeah.
You don't know, because if
Yeah.
they're paying national insurance, they may feel it's their entitlement.
Yeah. So this
to
is exactly what I'm
access
getting
NHS
onto.
services.
But again, a lot of people, even if they're earning 100 to 200,000 pounds, they are still using NHS because their taxes go to pay for that service. I've got private healthcare, but I still use the NHS and then take whatever I need secondary privately. But a lot of people for primary care, they are not going to pay £175 to speak to a GP for 15 minutes. They're going to see that for free on the NHS. So our lists are going to go up. People are going to be dying left, right, and center. People are going to get.
Can I just stop you there? And this is what I feel, that people will die. Yeah. I was on Featherstone Road, you know where Featherstone Primary School used to be. It's now flats, yeah. It's quite a narrow road. You've got vehicles parked on either side. And I was in a queue of stationary traffic, I would say for at least 10 minutes, maybe longer. If there was an ambulance behind me, there is no way they would have been able to get through. Yeah. The paramedic would have had to have left the ambulance and gone on foot if, there was somebody needing emergency assistance on Featherstone Road. It was that bad last night, yeah? And I know the traffic problems last night are nothing to do with overdevelopment, but I felt, well, the planning application also is a planning application for car parking, which means more cars are going to be introduced into Southall.
Yeah, but if this
and it's not just that development, as we've already touched upon, all the other developments where they will have underground car parking, or people, will try to find parking outside of CPZ hours. Yeah. And it's scary. I said last night, this is genuine. I travelled from Whitton to Southall. Yeah, I got to Montague Way. The traffic was backed up down Western Road, wasn't moving. So I turned around and went down King Street, and on the green, the traffic wasn't moving, but I turned onto Western Road and then took a right onto, I think it's, Featherstone Road. And it took me as long as travelling from Whitton to Southall as it did from Southall to my home within Southall. That's how bad it was last night.
Yeah.
So more cars, more congestion. Today was a case in point. Again, more congestion because of traffic lights on Hayes Road and
Yeah,
temporary traffic lights.
even
Absolutely horrific. But the point I'm trying to make,
yeah,
if you introduce more people into the area, there'll be more vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be more traffic via motors, i.e., cars, vans, and but at the end of the day, I think it's done all deliberately because the likes of the Mayor of London get paid £12.50 if your car ain't ULEZ compliant now. That's every single day. So people who are moving into the area might need a car, but won't be able to afford one.
Yeah, but the thing is, guys, when we've been to meetings with the councillors and everything about the Berkeley development, their answer was that people won't have cars in these developments because that's why they're so close to the station. But I don't think they actually realised that in Southall, the most important thing for the community around here is a house and a car.
Yeah.
You know, I can only go by what's down my road, and the average house has 3 or 4 cars. So,
Thank you,
you know,
John.
I totally agree with you, Ange. I went to leave my road yesterday, and my neighbour said to me, if I was you, I wouldn't bother. I said, why? He said, you just can't get out. He said it took him an hour to get from our road to Tesco's. So I put the car back in the drive, and I thought, you know what? I'll walk to King Street instead. It was gridlocked going to King Street. It was gridlocked going to Hayes. And as I was walking down Western Road, an ambulance was trying to get down Western Road and turn left into King Street. It was stuck there a good 5 minutes. It couldn't get through the traffic.
Jan, people are going to die.
Absolutely.
That person who was waiting on the ambulance might have passed away.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And,
Because
you know,
with a heart attack or a cardiac arrest, which is a category 1 call, if somebody dials 9, an ambulance has to be with you within 7 minutes. If, for example, say, John, I don't know obviously what that call was, why the ambulance was. Say if that was a heart attack, 5 minutes just waiting there. Obviously, it's taking it longer than 2 minutes to get from the ambulance depot to where it's at. Yeah, most likely, yeah, it's life or death. Even with a fire brigade, it's the same thing. It could be life or death. 1 minute can save someone's life. 30 seconds can save someone's life. With the police, it's the same thing. But our council and our councillors and our local representatives, even our MP, I'm sorry, I have to bring him into it. They don't look at this before giving the green light to these developers. And it's what you said, they're not building outwards anymore. They're building upwards because there's no space that way. They know there's no space out, so they have to build up.
It's just absolute greed at the end of the day. No, they don't care about quality of life, Sophie.
It's like the tallest building at one point in Southall was the blue gas holder. If everyone remembers the blue gas, that was the tallest building at one point.
Yeah.
If that was still there, that would be covered with buildings and flats. Like from my mum's window, for example, when I was at my mother's house, when I used to look out the window, I used to see that blue gas holder. Obviously, now it's not. All I see is blocks and blocks and blocks. Remember, I sent a picture a couple of years ago when they were still developing. I mean, I'm appalled. It looks like central London. We're in a concrete jungle, as you used the word.
Yeah, it's frightening. And when Jan has spoken about, I think, is it your neighbour's child couldn't get a place in a school within Southall, and the nearest school was in Norfolk, and I just think, how is this area going to provide school places for all the young children who will be part of our community? And the quality of life is really going to be going downhill. And we're treated with contempt by the councillors. As you know, Councillor Surinder Jassel, she's on the Community Engagement Steering Group, which is a Berkeley group, thing, basically to buy the community, by dishing out money to various community groups, community groups who should actually be speaking out about the overdevelopment and about the impact it's going to have on health and well-being are keeping quiet. And there's one particular one particular community group that talks about a community garden that they're developing and regenerating. And to be quite frank, I wouldn't eat the food from that garden. There's so much air pollution from the green quarter, from the asphalt plants, from people burning plastic. I drove past on Belford Road. Somebody within that particular industrial estate was burning plastic. Yeah. What goes up must come down. Yeah. I think nobody in their right mind should be eating food from, a community garden in Southall, yeah? Because it's going to be contaminated with all sorts of toxins. And, these community organisations that are getting money, being doled out by Berkeley Group, shame on them for not speaking out. There's so much in terms of disadvantage in this community health. Type 2 diabetes, the statistics are very, very high. Heart disease, it is really, really, disappointing that they're not making the connection, or they don't want to make the connection between the antics of a property developer and the net result, which is going to be a decline. It's already, I can already say, my health has declined, yeah, because of years of inhaling toxins from the gasworks. And I was there in August a couple of times, and the stench there is still strong, it still smells of petrol and tar combined. And I sat in the courtyard area of Parkside Yards, and it was quite a windy day. There was a gust of wind that picked up dust and spread it across the area. And, I just don't know what's in that dust, what's entered my lungs. And it would seem from the planning application, those buildings, Parkside Yards, is going to be demolished. It's just a temporary measure, yeah? So, Jan, you talked about those trees being potted rather than in the ground. That's probably the reason why, because that particular venue, is going to be knocked down and demolished. And, you can't uproot trees, they're going to die. So, I think that's probably the reason why they are potted. There's going to be, no community venue. The planning application mentions a sports hall. Is that going to be for the community as a whole, or is it just going to be for the exclusive use of the private owners? It's all very vague, yeah? We lost our sports centre, that shut down, Southall Sports Centre, and that had a huge positive impact on the community, all different ages. I used to go there, I used to work next door at the college, yeah? Different ages used to go there to work out in the gym. There was a ladies only gym, sports hall downstairs where you could play badminton. The older ladies used to sort of hang out with their friends in the sauna. That was good for their health. We don't have those facilities. Instead, we've got Let's Go Southall promoting what they do, which is largely outdoors, yeah? What happens when it's raining? What happens to those activities? Also, the promise of 2,500 bikes. My daughter did her bike training back in April. We are now in November. Nobody's contacted us about a bike. I don't see these bikes being ridden across Southall, apart from one neighbour. Life is set to get more and more challenging.
They want to push they want to push us out to bring these other people in to I think they want to rebrand the area, because Southall since the 80s, well, I think the 70s or 60s rather, has been known as Little India.
Mm.
And now with these new, I say tourists, I don't call them residents because they don't reflect our demographic. They might live here, but they don't support our economy. Let's be honest here. Yeah. These new people who have come in, they don't represent our demographic. I'm seeing a lot of Far Eastern people. I don't know how about you guys. I've seen a lot of more Far Eastern people like in Southall I've seen in the last, say, at least 5 years. They've
Can I
gone
just
up.
stop you quickly there? You talked about the Elizabeth line, and I was going to Custom House one day. As you say, typical delays, but there are also delays for all the people who had East Asian features waiting on the platform with their suitcases, quite a few of them, and there was no train coming anytime soon to take them to Heathrow. Now, we know somebody who works for TfL, and what they said, that the line, as we know, is the newest line, but needs more upgrades than any other line. They are not finished with the works. This is TfL, obviously. It'll be at least another year before they have all the upgrades in place, or at least another year of disruption, of cancellations and delays. I arranged to meet somebody at Southall train station, and due to no fault of their own, because of delays, they're about 45 minutes late. So can you imagine standing up outside the station for 45 to 50 minutes? You know, it's not the dream that, you know, the developer wants us to believe. At least another year of disruptions, folks.
Can I say something? I found the Ealing 7 Town profile that you sent to me. The health profile for Southall is kind of really bad from the profile. Life expectancy of men living in all Southall wards is lower than the Ealing average, which is 80.5 years. The life expectancy of women living in Norwood Green, Lady Margaret, and Southall Green is lower than the Ealing average of 84.5 years. The rate of preventable deaths is 13.6 higher than the England average, and the prevalence of long-term conditions in adults 18 plus is at one of the highest rates in terms of obesity. We're at the third highest rate across all the 7 towns. The highest rates are in the Black Caribbean, mixed white and Black Caribbean, Pakistani, so basically mostly all the Asian, like Asian and Bangladeshi populations, which are all significantly higher than the Southall average. We also have Southall is also home to one of the highest rates of diabetes across the 7 towns. We are 1.6 times than the Ealing average. Then obviously most of the Asian communities have diabetes, as it says. We also have the highest rate of hypertension across the 7 towns, which is 1.2 times the Ealing average. The good thing about Southall is we have the lowest rate of depression in the borough, which is really. But
I'll be honest with you,
in the South Asian communities, so which may underrepresent the true picture.
Arjun,
meaning what people don't speak out, people perhaps don't go to their GP for fear of stigma, so it's underreported.
Yeah, the depression rate, yeah, that figure I don't think is true, because the amount of mental health cases I deal with, there's nothing wrong with it in the Asian community. Obviously, there's a lot, as you said, Ange, there's a lot of stigma around people being, mental health doesn't exist in the brown community. There's a lot of negativity and stigma towards it. Me, myself, I've suffered with bad mental health, but you know what? I've always spoken to my GP. I've always spoken to a healthcare professional about it, because it's one of those things where if you don't report it and you're left without help or without resources or without facilities, without contacts or whether it's the Samaritans, whether it's Papyrus, whether it's Mankind, whether it's Turn to Us, whether it's whoever, even Trialline for the under 18s. If you don't have that net, that safety net, you could do anything to yourself. And I'm talking from personal experience. Because in early 2017, my mental health deteriorated due to various other factors in my life. And I didn't seek medical help for the first 2 years because I was always scared that mental health doesn't exist in the Asian community. Until it got really bad that my family started to notice. And then I said, all right, cool, I'll see my GP. There's nothing they can do. I refused to take antidepressants because long-term effects I didn't really like. So there was this talking therapy, there's things like that. But a lot of the youth, and I say the youth, I say under 30s, they don't talk about mental health. But when a lot of abuse happens, well, that's emotional, financial, physical, sexual, and various other forms of abuse. When that happens and they speak out, you shouldn't shame them for that, and nobody should be shamed. I was shamed by my family. I said, you know what? I said, F it. You know what I mean? Like, I need the help, so I'm gonna go for the help. And I spoke to several counselors. I had talking therapy. I went to cognitive behavior therapy because it was one of those things you need. And depression isn't reported as heavily in Southall, but the depression rate is a lot higher. I cannot tell you the rate because nobody actually knows the mental health rate in Southall. They only can go off the ONS, but I don't think that figure is true. Me personally, as a healthcare professional myself, I don't think that's true because I say 1 in 4 people I speak to are suffering from either depression, anxiety, in extreme cases, they've got bipolar, or ADHD is not really mental health, but you know what I mean? There's some form of mental health issue. So yeah, so it's one of those things where people need to speak out about. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that quickly because it is underreported heavily.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But you're right. All of those statistics should be sufficient to rebuff this application and for the council to turn it down.
And they know
we
because
are told time and time again by Councillor Peter Mason that Ealing Council wasn't responsible for the planning application to be approved. And let me just finish. Originally, it's all down to Boris. We know that, yeah. We've never obviously disagreed with that. That's factual, yeah. But then, who will he blame if the planning application to ramp up the number of homes from 750 to 8,100, who is Peter Mason going to blame then? Yeah, because when you look at Councillor Surinder Jassal, she is very impressed by going to the House of Lords. You know, she received an invitation on behalf of Berkeley Group to have a 5-course meal there. She hasn't listened to the people who will be affected, those residents on Beaconsfield Road who are living a nightmare. It's hell on earth for them, the dust, the noise. Also, people driving around the area. So when the CPZ finishes, they are parking on Beaconsfield Road. So, you know, if a resident returns home after 8 o'clock in the evening, they can't find parking on that road or any of the adjacent roads in the same CPZ, and they're paying for that. You know, it's just ridiculous. As far as I can tell, it would seem that Berkeley Group thinks they have the council in their pocket, and it would seem that is the case. Yeah. because the councillors don't speak to us. They don't hold meetings, yeah? They'll turn up to SEA's community meeting, but they don't speak to residents and listen to what we've got to say about our quality of life. The jams last night, the jams that will continue because there'll be developments with underground car parking. I think it was Jan and I walked past Parkside Yards and they've got a huge car park there, yeah? And as you say, that's despite the fact, Sophie and Arjan, that the Elizabeth line is down the road and walking distance, and all the bus routes taking you east and west. It's just, you know, absolute greed to try and create in Southall an exclusive village. It's like apartheid, isn't it? Because when you look at the facilities, you know, you've got these young East Asian, by and large, sitting in the Parkside Club on their laptops because their flats are so small and they want obviously a clear demarcation between home and their work life. But the people who live in the social housing don't have access to that club. They don't have access to the gym there. They don't have access to the cinema room. I picked up a brochure which advertised a swimming pool, and that swimming pool wasn't for everybody. That was just for the private owners only. It's disgraceful. We've got Dormers Wells Leisure Centre, which has a swimming pool. Has anybody been there recently? It's grim. It looks like a relic from the 1970s. Yeah, as you say, Rashpal, Arjan, we've got all these health issues, which are very significant in our community.
More emergency. Speaking of which, emergency hospital admissions for all causes of people of all ages, of both genders, of all genders, is approximately 47% higher than the England average.
Yeah.
Hospital admissions for conditions attributable to alcohol in Southall is approximately 36% higher than the England average. England
Really?
100, and Ealing Borough in itself is 108.2%.
And that might be linked to depression, which perhaps, as Sophia said, is more than likely underreported. But, you know, I can't tell you the last time I went to Ealing Hospital. I've been referred to Charing Cross Hospital, and that's where I go. And I've got an eye appointment at Eastbury Road Clinic, which is in Northwood. Yeah, that's in the borough of Hillingdon. That's a good sort of, I would say, half an hour to 40 minutes drive. And I have to go there in December for a phasing clinic, and I've got to be there at 8:30 in the morning. Somebody please tell me what time I'll need to leave home. You know, it's depressing. And
possibly what, 6:30, 7 o'clock, because the traffic starts. The traffic even is now starting to build up about 8 o'clock in the morning, like 5 past 7 o'clock in the morning when my dad leaves for work. He is stuck in traffic because he has to go an alternative route because the M4 is closed. And
yeah, can you tell me what's happening on the M4?
I don't have a clue what's going on. My parents said today it was closed.
I tell you what it is. You know when you come up to the roundabout by Tesco's.
Yeah.
The 312 going towards the M4. They've closed that slip part because there's flooding there.
Oh, so that means people are going through Heston then?
You can't get on the M4. So what they're doing is they're diverting everybody across the roundabout straight up. Is it North Hyde Road? Is it? I don't know what the name of that road. Hayes, you know what the road opposite
North Hyde Lane. Is it North Hyde Lane?
Yeah. North Hyde Lane.
Well, it was chock-a-block this morning.
Yeah, so they're taking people across the roundabout up North Hyde Lane, turning left at what I used to be called the Fairy Corner, where Asda is.
It's near Hayes and Harlington Station, Jan, is it?
Yeah, you know where those traffic lights are at the bottom of Hayes and Harlington Station.
Yeah, going towards Stockley Park, is it? The Stockley Park estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they're doing, I had a walk along there this afternoon because I wanted to see if it was open, because I normally get the M4 in the morning to go to work, and it's got a big sign across the front, road closed.
Oh my
it's
God.
madness.
Speaking
But
of which,
it's obviously having a
speaking
knock-on effect, Jan, on all the local
Everywhere,
roads.
everywhere.
Because I was 5 minutes late. This when I was going through Heston, you know,
Well,
down
they've,
Comfort Lane and right in the mini roundabout.
Well, you've also got the gasworks outside Firmenich stroke Costco. There's a little
Yeah.
hole in the road. So once you get past that, then you can't turn left onto the M4 now.
It's just that, yeah, absolutely.
And somebody said that could be like, I don't know how true it is, but it could be like that for over a week.
Yeah, because I left home yesterday morning, 11:40, and the traffic was backed up down Brent Road. So I thought, I can't sit in this traffic. So I turned around and went down, what's it called, Montague Way onto Norwood Road through Heston to get to my destination. You know, it's just, it's a nightmare. But, you know, can you imagine, right, if these developments go ahead and more cars will add to the congestion just generally. And then, you know, if there are roadworks or accidents, road closures, we won't be going anywhere. You know,
And as you know, Ange, I told you this the other day. I've lived in Southall all my life, and Friday night is the first time in my living round here that I felt unsafe. I was going to Southall station because I was going into London. So I got to the station and sat there, and all the trains had been cancelled. So I left
when was this, Jan?
Friday evening
Oh,
about.
they had I witnessed the same thing. They cancelled all
It
the
was
trains
signal
because
failure.
of a signal
Yeah.
failure. So I had to get the. I thought, okay, I'll try it out. There's only when I got on the bus and checked the TFL Go app thing you can get on your phone.
Yeah.
That the whole line is suspended westbound from Paddington.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, I had to go to Hounslow East, so east of Hounslow to come back into Ealing, to go to South Ealing. So from Southall to Hounslow to come back into the borough, it's just beyond ridiculous. Then that added about an extra half an hour because
I gave up.
Did you cancel your trip into London then?
Yeah,
you
because
turned around and you were walking home, and did you say you saw?
Yeah, I was walking. So I came out of the station, and it was just gridlocked, really gridlocked. So I started to walk home, and going past the green where the old Tudor Rose place used to be.
Yeah,
it must be a wedding venue now there.
Yeah.
There was cars parked. The cars were trying to get into the slip road where St Anselm Church is, and the entrance to wherever this function is down there. I don't know what it's called. There's
Milan Palace.
That's it. Yeah. But they've also now got the Milan Palace, but they've also got the Tudor Rose.
Yeah.
People would just park there looking for somewhere to park. Anyway, I walked past. All of a sudden, because there's nowhere to park, people are just driving up on top of the pavements.
What, on the green?
On the pavement, on the green, opposite the manor house.
And
that happened to me today.
Parking up on the pavement outside the shop.
That is just absolutely unacceptable.
So, that happened to me today. I nearly got run over.
Yeah, I nearly got run over. Now, no disrespect, I am one of probably the minority of white people living in Southall. I felt really frightened by the groups of men hanging around everywhere. And I'm not normally a person that gets frightened by anything like that, but I felt really unsafe. So then I walked down King Street. You've got all people hanging around outside the betting shops and opposite the betting shop where they've got all those benches now, or those stone benches.
Oh, in front of the derelict church there.
Yeah. So then I decided, right, I won't go my normal route. I will go down Western Road.
Yeah.
And outside where the Somali village place is, that's the only place I know what it's called. Again, people parked up on top of the pavements. Outside where the football club used to be, everyone's parked up on the pavements there. So I carried on walking home, and I got to the temple outside here on Western Road by Brent Road.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't get past. There was a car up on the pavement parked by the bus stop. So I said to the guy,
really getting out of hand.
I said to the guy, what a stupid place to park. He said, what do you mean a stupid place to park? I said, how am I supposed to get past? He said, well, you can get past. I said, but you shouldn't be parked on the pavement.
What if you was a wheelchair user?
Absolutely. Look, I work with a lady who's fully blind, yeah, and she comes to my place of work, and I sometimes help her get to the bus stop. And I thought, it was made me very aware. If she was walking along the pavement, she's not going to expect a car to be on top of the pavement.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. They've got complete disrespect. And I don't know if you noticed, Jan, somebody on next door neighbour had a right old moan because they parked up on the pavement and they got a PCN. And they said, oh, you know, this isn't on, I'm going to appeal it. If I parked in the road, I would have blocked the road. And somebody politely said exactly what you said. You know, people who are disabled, who've got mobility problems, parents and carers with pushchairs cannot get past if you park up on the pavement. Yeah. Now, where I live, my road, you can park 2 wheels on the pavement. Yeah, and the signage allows you to do that. But if there's no permission granted to park your 2 wheels on the pavement, you've got no right to be parking on the pavement. So anyway, this particular person said they're going to appeal it, and I think, well, good luck with that.
Can I butt in with some more stats that I found? Do you know how, Jan, you're saying you feel unsafe in Southall, right? Speaking of which, crime-wise, there were 8,012 total notifiable offences in Southall last year, right? The TNO rate is higher than the average that is supposed to be for Ealing, right? And there were 252 domestic abuse offences in Southall in 2022. That is also the higher than the Ealing average. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy.
I'm gonna travel back and about 8:30. What? How am I? I'm actually worried stiff about if someone's gonna come and attack us in a way.
It's really frightening.
And
really.
my also concern is, once this whatever the Green Quarter opens up, and and more people start coming living in it, my concern is what about the antisocial behaviour is going to go up.
Yeah, nah, because Arjun, there's already drug dealing on that block.
Yeah, and then if more people,
there's drug dealing, there's class
exactly.
A going on there. Because I've caught people when I was working with APNA Youth last year. This time, we bumped into a young boy who was 17 at the time. He goes, I've just come out of prison, because we obviously were doing youth engagement work. Class A dealing at the age of 17.
Yeah. No,
So
I mean, yeah, that's going to be on. We're already having that problem. If we build more flats and more people are going to move in, there could be the case of that happening even more.
It's an absolute joke, and the council don't see this. All they see is the green, the greenness, which is the money. All they give a crap about is their council tax and their council rates going up, and their pocket.
That's all I'm probably thinking about. You're absolutely right. You know, the millions that are going to be pouring into their coffers through. And Jan said it. You know, I'm taking Jan's words. You know, more money. You know, for the council through council tax, but the cost to our health, more, and the cost of the NHS, more prescriptions for diabetes, hypertension.
And people are now dodging it.
Yeah. Heart disease,
and sorry to interrupt you, Joe's trying to get onto the group, get onto the meeting.
Oh right, he's connecting now, so hopefully he can join us. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, the thing is, you said about kids taking drugs on the Green Quarter site. I've seen them inhaling nitrous oxide from those canisters. They inflate a balloon, and then they inhale it from the balloon. And this was in broad daylight on the grassy area. But they must be bored witless. Emma talked about doing karate. But that's over the other side of Southall, in Dormers Wells. But in the heart of Southall, what is there for them to do? Yeah. Now we've got the Young
Angela.
Adult Centre. I don't hear anything about activities at the Young Adult Centre. Do you?
Angela, this is the issue we're having with nitrous oxide is available to buy at Charles House. They're selling them to people as young as 14 because a couple of months ago, I think it was, it must have been like May, there was a stop and there was a load of police at Southall Station. I was traveling to Canary Wharf and a Somalian youngster got stopped because he had just purchased 64 canisters for about £120 from Charles House. He got stopped by the police. He was issued with a penalty notice for possession. He owns a cookery business to the police. He spoke to me, he was speaking to me. I said to him, listen, I'll go to him. Whether you own a cookery business or not, you need to show invoices to the police. They have fined you. And then he ripped up the PCN in front of me. No, sorry, was it the PCN? No, the the ticket. I'm used to saying PCN, but you know what I mean. It's not penalty charge notice, but you know what I mean. The fine he was issued. He goes, I've given them a fake name. They've got no evidence who I am, and I've disappeared now. And I will get stopped again, and I'll do the same thing because the police aren't doing their checks, and they've confiscated the drugs, obviously. But this is happening in our town because it's the rogue traders which are on Charles House, which it's the council trading standards need to get involved and say you can't sell this. This is now a category B, I think. No, it's a category C drug, nitrous oxide. It's illegal now. It's been illegal for a number of months, and people are still walking around broad daylight. If you walk around with a packet of weed on you and you get caught by the police, you're issued with a ticket immediately. And
it's going to get worse. You introduce, more inhabitants. Without the infrastructure, more crime. Yeah. Because kids are bored. They've got nothing to do. When they're roaming about, they get into trouble. There's nothing structured. And Joe's now joined us. Good evening, Joe. So we've been talking about really all the negative impacts if Berkeley Group get given the green light to increase the number of homes on the Green Quarter from 3,750 to 8,100. What's your view?
They should. Joe? Good evening to everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. I was trying to get on the information that I had earlier from Angela, but I couldn't get on. And basically, you cannot have the amount of flats that they're looking for, 8,100, on a site which clearly they defined in 2010, I believe, that they want to build 3,750 flats. Now, that's like putting, people in a sardine can, right? Now, what people don't seem to understand is, and I know you were saying that, there's only a few people that have actually written in to object to the extension of the flats. Now, do you believe that only 2 or 4 people would actually complain?
There's
what people
3.
are not looking at. Okay, let's say 3, yeah? Now, when I was on Desi Radio, and I said to them, one of the councillors was there, Councillor Dinsa, I believe. And I said, there's more important things going on in our town, and you being a community radio station should really be showing concern for the community. And instead, Councillor Dinsa has come today to the radio station, and he's telling us how we apply so we're eligible to vote. Now, really, is this a fact? Well, it's true. It is a fact. This is the atmosphere that we're actually living in at the moment in Southall. Southall is going to have serious issues in the very, very near future. People are telling us the police don't want to come out because there's not enough police. They're very easy to give you a crime reference number. I was speaking to a detective from Acton Town Police Station because somebody had posted some information to my house. And while I was on the phone with this detective in Acton, I was having a discussion and I was saying, look, I've just received this document today and I think somebody needs to look at this. And he said, Mr. Bangu, you know, we've got so much on our plate. And I felt sorry for him because he came across as a very sincere, hardworking officer. Now, people have to understand, if a bus says it can only carry 94 passengers, and you try to put in there 200 passengers, what's going to happen? The tires are going to burst. And this is exactly what London Borough of Ealing are not showing any concern or constraint. For the simple fact is, we just haven't got the infrastructure. No doctors. They're not building any new hospitals lately. The ambulance service are under pressure. So, you know, what's going on? What are they looking for? Are they going to leave us with a disaster? That's what I thought.
It's already happening, Joe, isn't it? It is a disaster right here, right now.
Because you saw, you know, the discussion we had the other day about the traffic. It's a nightmare out there. And the way people are driving on my street on Beaconsfield Road, you know, and then I speak to the neighbors and, you know, they find it horrendous just across the road. And this is supposed to be a 20-mile-an-hour zone, which it clearly is not being governed. It's not being policed. It just, I mean, are these people blind? Because they're certainly incompetent. What's in it for them? That's the question.
Because they're gonna retire to Buckinghamshire, aren't they? Denham.
Well, the question you got to ask yourself, Angela, it's a serious question.
The suburbs in general is beckoning.
No, but Angela, the serious question you got to ask yourself is, and everybody at this meeting, the question you must ask yourself is, you stand as a councillor, you're voted in by the local residents, and yet you don't have 1 ounce of respect for those residents. We have just been sidelined. We don't matter. They don't need us no more. And this is exactly what I said to Dr. Sahota and I said to Mr. Dinsa when they were on Desi Radio. Oh, you've come out now because you need our vote. And he said, no. Dinsa said, no, Mr. Bangu, I'm always on the radio station. Well, I said 5 years ago, I asked you, you know, we need the bins replaced on Southall Broadway. Nothing's been done. So we're just a vote bank, basically.
Is he actually around and about? Because he lives not that far from where I live. I used to see him sometimes in the rec or walking down Dirty Road or, in his car on Dirty Road. I've not seen him for a long time. So does he still live in Southall?
They don't need to be seen for the simple fact is that they will only come out. See, once we give them the vote, they go into hibernation. And the only time we see them is when they want our vote to be re-elected.
But they've got time to turn up to SCA's community meeting. So I'm referring to Councillor Anand and Councillor Polly Newstob and Councillor Jassel. There's a photograph of them taken at a meeting. They looked as miserable as hell. But they don't hold their own meetings to engage with the residents who voted for them. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Well, I think
they have no way of gauging residents' reactions to the planning application, because if they spoke to residents directly, they would realise how residents vehemently oppose an increase, more than doubling the number of homes on the site.
But they're
So I
saying
said earlier on, Joe, before you joined, they're very good at telling us it's Boris Johnson's fault. So if the planning committee waves this planning application through, who will they blame then?
Well, they have nobody to blame apart from themselves, because even when the Right Honourable Prime Minister came to London, well, he was the mayor at the time, Mr. Boris Johnson, he did ask can I please listen to the people who are objecting to this development? And clearly nobody locally was invited. So this is another nail in the coffin of the local councillors, the local MP, for the simple fact is they brought their friends in from Ivor, Gerrard's Cross. They didn't call the local residents. I mean, as everybody knows, it's behind my house, it's in my backyard. I was not invited. None of the residents on my street were invited. So it clearly shows they're working hand in glove. Now, I saw social media today about SCA, how they're friends with Berkeley Group, and they've received a check or something like that. They're showing off with a check. Now, I've always said that Southall Community Alliance are only in it for themselves, and they've always only been there for themselves. They are the propaganda machine for London Borough of Ealing. And that's the way things are, and that's the way things are going to be. And that's what we need. We need change. They have no right to take over the town hall in Southall. That property belongs to the people of Southall. Mr. Baines, I think.
Yeah.
Mr. Baines doesn't even live in Southall. I think his name is Hans Baines. He doesn't even live in Southall, so he lives in Hillingdon. So basically what you've got is you've got people who don't even live in Southall, who are taking control of certain institutes. And they've been getting away with this for far too long, and it's time that it stops. As far as I'm concerned, if you don't live in Southall, we don't need you to come and tell us how to live. We know what we need and what we don't need. And that's what they don't like.
We need to write to the local schools as well, Joe, because Berkeley Group have their tentacles into the schools, touting the Green Quarter as being very green, sustainable, closer to nature. It's all a load of greenwash, yeah? Schools need to be teaching young people that site. They need to know the history. It was a gasworks where coal was burned to produce town gas that was stored in gas holders, and the byproducts seeped to the soil and also were dumped on the site. And not only on the site, but also in Minute Country Park as well. So, I think we need to reach out to the schools and say to them, you need to be aware that the young people that you are teaching are going to have their lives blighted by this overdevelopment. It's impacting on school places, as we've already talked about, on hospitals, GPs, green space, health, because we haven't touched upon the fact that living in a town which is effectively a construction site affects our physical and mental health. Now, I'm going to put the call out again to people who are listening to this recording, that I urge you to go on the council website, find the planning page, do a simple search and enter the number 234110 OUT and tick all the boxes as to why this particular planning application should be thrown out by Ealing Council. It's not good enough that only 3 people have found the time. I'm guilty of not actually doing it, right? Because I want to spend a little bit of time reading some of the planning documents. And I had a quick trawl through the health impact assessment, and I nearly fell about laughing because it was said you can get good food at, and I can't remember the name of the shop, but a shop on Beaconsfield Road where Joe lives, and also good food from Tesco on King Street. That's absolute nonsense. Those 2 shops referred to are corner shops, convenience stores where you'll go and do a little bit of a top-up shop, yeah? Thousands of people are moving into this area, and there isn't a supermarket, a large supermarket in Southall. If you want to do like a Tesco shop or a Sainsbury's shop, you've got to go out of borough. Tesco at Bulls Bridge is in Hayes. Likewise, Sainsbury's at Lombardy Retail Park is in Hayes. So what is going on that we do not have a supermarket, a large-scale supermarket in what is a so-called
Angela, we do have one, or we do have a mini supermarket on King Street, but that's about it. And sorry
I'm
if you
talking
hear
about, a large, supermarket
a
where,
large
you've
one.
got everything under one roof, yeah?
Yeah, large one we don't have. So
Yeah.
Sorry about the background noise. I am on my way home now, so I am taking part in this meeting while I'm on my journey home. So if you hear any background noise, apologies in advance.
Because not all of us want to do online shopping, yeah? We need to have a choice. And not all of us want to do shopping on Amazon, yeah? It just really makes me angry.
Sorry, I prefer to do my shopping in person. It gets me out of the house, it gets me active.
Yeah.
It's better than doing it online.
Yeah.
And and another question I have about the housing developments is the construction works they're doing to put these sites on. Is it affecting people's health? And the fact that it's on the old gasworks site itself, how is that affecting people's health? That's already how is it affecting the health of the people that's already living on the site?
Well, we know from speaking to people that there are complaints about respiratory difficulties, and I can remember speaking to one woman, and her daughter, I think, was coughing, and she took her to Ealing Hospital, and they could not get to the bottom of what was causing respiratory distress. And there was also concern about the dust. It's a building site, and people have got these balconies that get coated in dust. And we spoke to one father who said, I don't let my children out on the balcony, I keep it locked because it's covered in dust, and I'm really worried about what is within the dust, what could do them harm. And every time I go there, I can still detect an odour, especially in front of Parkside Yards, where they're constructing new blocks opposite. It stinks. Now I'm going to have to look at the docs relating to contamination. I personally think there are still, contamination issues, which I think, will be an ongoing scourge on the community. And, we obviously await Imperial College's research. But I was quite despondent last night to read in a post on X, the Berkeley Foundation, one of their partners is Imperial College. And I'll just see if I can find what I shared with you guys.
Oh, is it the email from Ian Mudway, is it? About
That's right. That's right. I mean, he said, obviously, he's got the right reply. He said, I know nothing about this. Imperial College is a very large organisation. And whilst I've been informed that the university has a complex relationship with Berkeley Group, I've also been told that I have complete academic freedom. They just want to be kept in the loop. That's obviously how much influence and power they have. They want to know about the research and obviously, to be communicated with. And I just feel that the people at the top of the hierarchy, the vice chancellor and so on, people who hold senior positions, I feel like, in a way, a sense of failure, because clearly they haven't watched the Guardian documentary, they haven't read the Guardian articles and the article in the Daily Mirror and so on and so forth. We've also been on BBC London News quite a few times. Because what I would like to say to them, yes, you're working in partnership to encourage young people to go into STEM subjects. But the pollution from that site entered the high school that my kids go to. There was somebody with asthma who said I could smell it in the school hall. And it makes me angry because I want to say to them, the fancy report written by the chief exec about helping Black and brown disadvantaged young people makes me angry, because Berkeley Group's construction activities are contributing to this disadvantage. They need to be held accountable. The board needs to be held accountable. Yeah. So I don't know how to have that conversation with people at the top of the organisation who make these decisions, who are clearly isolated from the communities who they are serving. Yeah. Because not only is it a case of our experience in Southall, as you know, Berkeley Group own 30 plus gasworks across London and the southeast. Now, somebody's joined GCU who said Berkeley Group are about to submit a planning application for Stratford gasworks. And I used to live in East London. That is another poor borough with multiple disadvantages. And I would like somehow to expose the eyes of the senior leadership of Imperial College and say, it's not good enough that you're in partnership to, attempt to counteract disadvantages by, if you like, widening participation of the poorest in STEM subjects. Look at what your partner is doing to these communities. Yeah. So that's something I need to think about. And certainly it makes me feel, or certainly the relationships that universities have with business and politicians is very complex, that we don't really have an insight into. But going back to the planning application, we have to do all that we can to get people to register their objections on the council website. You know, even if the planning application goes ahead, we need to register our objections. You know, we are a community who are battling, and you know, I'm assuming it will go to planning committee. We need to be there. We need to represent our voices. Sorry for rambling a little bit. Rashpal, I know you've been chatting in, typing in the chat box. Is there anything you want to say on your mic?
Yeah, you know, it is getting worse every day. Can you hear me well? Hi, everyone. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, it is, you know, whatever they're doing is not for the public, you know, like we are suffering here every day, you know, like each one of us, some way, like, you know, the traffic or the buses or the trains or whatever, you know, the other accidents or purposely, you know, some things happened, you know, like around my areas, you know, at night it's very difficult, you know, like it is a continuous thing, you know. Every day these people, you know, hang up, you know, the gangs. Maybe you have experience over there or not, I don't know. They hang up and they create, you know, like they talking loudly, you know, like they're doing illegal activities. The cars going around with a lot of big noises, you know. And I reported to the police recently, and they haven't done much, you know. Like I told them it's regular, and they asked all my details, you know. I'm afraid to report, you know, like I am not, you know, like I can't. Rely on this our current, you know, like leadership. They are playing with us for a long time, you know, and I'm just fed up with it, you know. Like they are not punishing the whose fault it is. They're punishing the victims, you know, and it's of everybody. I can't see, you know, it's too much to bear sometime, you know. And so especially when I go outside here, there are a lot of, you know, like uh, people like bumping into each other, you know, lot of crowds and lot of noise, you know, daytime as well, when it's most of the time like that, you know, like buses, full buses and train fulls delaying, you know, it's a regular thing, you know, around here. And the buildings, they're bringing lot of people from all over the world, and it's not helping. The world is suffering, you know. And here is especially in our areas, you know, it's not very pleasant anymore. It used to be, you know, good before, but now is, I don't know why. People have mental health issues, you know, and there is not much. They can't they don't, you know, they don't have many facilities, like they don't have shops, like they have tiny shops. You can't even get into those ones, you know. I don't shop here normally, and they need like big shopping centers, like the other towns have, you know, like especially now they can't get out, you know, in the cars, a lot of cars around, you know, traffic, and the buses are full and lots of people, and they are suffering, you know. In I don't know what will happen here. I am just frightened for the future for all. Yeah.
Do you find, which is what I'm finding, especially because I do a lot of walking around here, the crowds of young men in packs of 5, 6, hanging around, you know, what my take of it, and please correct me all if you think I'm wrong. I think what is happening is there's a lot of these Asian young men coming into the area that are on student visas
Yeah,
that are just, they're here, they're probably living in bed sits, probably 2-3 to a room, and they don't want to be in their property. So what they do is they come out at night, just roaming the streets.
the youngsters, a lot of youngsters are doing that, not the
Yeah.
other ages. I haven't seen many like 40s, 50s, like that. Some of them.
No, these are all 20s and 30-year-olds.
Yeah, a lot of these students, they're coming over and they're just creating havoc. And they're not, I mean, as you said, I mean, rent is extortionate for them. I mean, I got quoted on Southall Broadway for a studio apartment, £1,600. I went to view the apartment. I kid you not, it's the size of a box room, and they call that a studio apartment. I've got a box room within and I'll say it's no more than about 10 to 15 square meters. I looked at the line, I said, what, £1,600 for this? He goes, yes. And I said, are bills included? No. Are white goods included? No. How? I said, all right, send me your bank details and we'll discuss. He goes, no, this is all cash in hand.
Mm.
And I said to him, no. I said, no, I'm looking for a place, but I need a tenancy agreement. He goes, I can't provide you a tenancy agreement. So how can you charge someone £1,600 and not even provide them a tenancy agreement as any proof? But yet he wants pay slips, he wants my national insurance, he wants proof of ID, he wants all the details of me. He won't give me, he gave me his name. He gave me, he goes, every first of the month I'll come and pick up £1,600 off you. I said to him, mate, you're having a joke, I'm not taking it.
And it's dodgy. I mean, if he's not prepared to provide you with a tenancy agreement, then
Yeah, but this is an ongoing thing, Ange.
yeah, you're
I mean,
exposing
even
yourself
even
risk.
down my little road, right? We've had 2 or 3 properties that have sold in the last 6 months. Yeah, they have people living in their garages. These are buildings that haven't been even built to accommodate a
Yeah,
bedroom.
they're
or anything like that.
outbuildings.
Yeah,
outbuildings.
these are just garages, and they've got 2 or 3 people living in a garage. Yeah, or they're building extensions in the back of the garden or the side of the house, and they're just having people living in them. I mean,
it's just again, that's another pressure on the infrastructure, isn't it? I don't know if you've noticed this. This tends to happen on the 195 bus. You get young South Asian people, and they've got their big suitcases.
The 105, you mean, Ange?
195, the single decker.
Right.
Yeah, you can just about squeeze past them. Really difficult for elderly people if they've got a walker or Anyway, but that seems to be quite common on the 195 bus route, and I can only assume that they're travelling from one room to another room.
Yeah.
Because they've got big suitcases, because the 195 doesn't come from the airport, so they're not travelling from the airport.
Even do you know what, Angela? It's the 120 as well that has these sort of people. But I'm with a friend right now.
Suitcases.
Yeah. I'm with a friend of mine. Sorry to train. I'm with a friend of mine who actually uses the 120 on a daily basis, right? And like today was an example. We had to go somewhere for 6 o'clock. We left at 5 o'clock. Yeah, and we didn't get on the bus until about 5:30, 5:45, and we had to be at the place for 6. We ended up being called 15 minutes late because people had suitcases. And this is, I agree with you. It's when you say, the students moving accommodation. You see, they come with like 3 or 4 big suitcases on the bus, and that takes up most room.
No, and they're coming, and I mean, I know this because I've had people come to my clinic and ask me, do I know of anywhere renting a room? Because they're not half these aren't even documented. They're on dodgy visas, they're on student visas, they don't come with a place of accommodation. So I just say to them, nearest place I can think of is go to an estate agent, the correct way. But obviously, even myself, when I've tried to privately rent, I have to go through contacts of mine. I had to call people I know, friends of friends, to find a place, because estate agents do so many checks on you, credit checks, references, landlord references. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all you lot know if you rent, but I mean, yeah, but it's a headache. So a lot of people just advertise that place like the news box or Candy Fair, and just say, oh, single female room available.
Yeah.
Contact this number. You call this number. I've called hundreds of, I would say not hundreds, I would say about 15 of these numbers. And I'm saying, look, I'm British. The minute I say I've got a British passport, no, sorry, we can't rent you. Why is that?
But
Because
they're looking to exploit people who
Yeah.
haven't
yeah,
got the right
because of
paper
course
or
they do.
student visas and perhaps overstayed.
So I've obviously I gave up looking in Southall, hence why I'm moving to the Midlands, because it's a lot cheaper. It's still obviously Birmingham is still a very busy city, but I'm due to move actually tomorrow. I'm leaving tomorrow evening. But I mean I'm only paying about £750 a month for a 2-bed house. And that you can't even get a box room in Southall for. And it's a shame, obviously, of course I'm still gonna be back and forth from Southall, but it's really woken me up when I ventured out to say Manchester, and I've looked at places there up north, even just on the outskirts of London. But do you know what? There's nothing, there's no benefit living in London anymore because it's very busy, it's very congested, and I'm just like, yeah, Birmingham is still very busy, but it's a lot safer than London, I would say. I have to say, when I was staying there last month, it was a lot safer. In terms of there's always police on the bop, or there's always police cars driving by. And they're not on blue lights, they are driving by on patrols. And you feel safer. It's more reliable. Yeah, of course, the public transport network ain't great, but that's a knock-on effect that I have to take because I'm born and bred in London and so used to TfL running 24 hours on the weekends. But it's
But you
one of
know,
those.
with all these flats, yeah, I reckon even on the Green Quarter, because I keep seeing popping up in my Facebook feed, Bartley Group advertising the Green Quarter. You can get up to 6% yield. So they're not even advertising them as, homes. They're advertising them to investors. If they get 6% yield, good luck in the current economic climate. But I reckon in a 1-bedroom flat, you're probably going to have 4 people living in a 1-bedroom flat. Yeah, 2 sharing a bedroom and 2 in the living area on a fold-out bed. Yeah, so there's going to be overcrowding, and I've just thought of something else, right? Are the sewers going to be able to cope with all these new developments, these Victorian sewers? And Jem will know this because I bumped into her on my road, and it was partially closed, yeah, because of a collapsed sewer. And I reckon it was closed, must be getting on for at least 7 weeks, yeah. And people used to drive down my road, they used to ignore the closed sign, and then they got to a certain point, oh, I can't go any further. They had to turn around and, go around the diversion route to get to wherever they were going. But what I noticed in this area, that the sewers get blocked really easily. I don't know if you've seen a company called Lanes for Drains. And you've got the big tankers that turn up and they have to pump out the sewers. I mean, this happened on my road, like every night the sewer was being pumped out. Is the sewer on Beaconsfield Road going to be able to cope with all these new developments?
They're not, because as you said, they're Victorian, they're coming on to what, 110 years old minimum, and 120 actually in 1902, isn't it? Victoria died, yeah, probably 120 years. But yeah, it's that people are asking, say on Facebook, I'm part of this Facebook group called London House / Flat / Spare Room to Rent. People are exploiting people for £1,800 for a room. Obviously that's in central London, but you go further down in this group, I've seen so many. Ealing, somebody's charging close to £1,300 for a room. You've got a 1-bed place in Southall for £800, and that's not a house, that's a room, a box room. So it's
There's going to be more overcrowding. For people to be able to make the rent, they're going to have more people in a flat, you know. Because I said before, maybe you might have sort of 6 people staying in a 1-bedroom flat. Who knows? But also, is the National Grid going to be able to cope with all these flats that are being proposed? Because in this area, we've got these new data centres. I think, Joe's got one the other side of Beaconsfield Road, being constructed. There's a data centre being constructed next to the A312.
What's the data center? Sorry, if you don't mind.
That I don't know. I guess it's to do with IT and storage of data. Yeah.
I'll explain to you.
Yeah.
I'll explain to you what a data center is. When we go to a store and we use our card, that's where it bounces back from. Yes, okay, they cleared the amount. Make sense?
Okay.
So the data center is a banking bank or a banking vault. Yeah.
Right.
So that's why now, if you look at when we use our card, it's the situation, or should I say, it takes less time now for it to authorize. So if you're in a petrol pump and you use a card only pump, which I do, straight away it'll come back and say, yep, £99 has been authorized. Haven't you noticed that it speeds up?
Yeah, I mean, I've never paid attention to how long it takes. I always use Apple Pay.
Well, in the old days, in the old days, they used to take time. Yeah. Where now it's like flicking your finger and it's done.
Yeah.
Angela, may I just speak about sewage?
Please do.
Go for it.
We had a lot of blockages in the toilets, and I kept speaking to the PA company, Nicole.
Oh yeah.
In Berkeley Group. She, no, Mr. Bangu, you've got it wrong. You've got it wrong. I said, fine, no problem. The water board come, we go there with our cameras, and we see that they're actually using our sewage network. So all they've done is they've connected, Berkeley Group have connected their system into our old system, correct? Make sense?
Right, yeah.
Right. So this happened I think about 3 times I was involved with this, yeah? And every time I kept telling Nicole, look, you've got your facts wrong. And she said, no, Mr. Bangu, we use our own. I said, fine, no problem. So everybody knows that there's 2 new roads going into the estate from Beaconsfield Road, okay? One is near my house and one is near Raymond's house. Everybody understand?
Yeah.
So we had the blockage near my road, the new road, twice or 3 times. And outside Raymond's house, I think it happened once, where residents had come to me and said, Joe, there's a very, very, very bad foul smell coming. And I walked up there with the residents and I saw the leakage and I said, this is raw sewage leaking into the road. The water board were called, okay? Once again, I phoned Nicole. She would have none of this, yeah? She's in denial, okay? Berkeley Group cannot do anything wrong. It's the residents who are liars, abusers, okay? It's us who don't know the meaning of the truth, all right? That's how it comes across on the telephone to me. Then what happened, and you're all gonna laugh at this, what happened one day, what happened, the sewage backed up all the way into the 1st floor flats and the pipes blew up in the flats. Okay,
What?
we're also raw sewage. Yeah.
In the flats?
In the flats, yeah.
Oh,
So who had what on their face?
that's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah,
potentially
but-
more of that to come. You know, because
when you
Thames Water are not all that. You know, they're facing a lot of flack.
Angela, when you keep lying, when you're living in denial, yeah, there is a God, for goodness sake, on this planet, okay? Somebody made us all, okay? Somebody made the universe, all right? There's a mightier being up there who's watching. So what did they have on their face? They didn't have egg on their face. It was all brown stuff on their face. Because they deal in lies. They deal in deceit. Okay? So I must have made about 5-6 phone calls, okay, in that year. And Nicole was every time in denial. Mr. Bangu's got it wrong. So when the brown stuff came leaking out of their pipes, I was laughing my head off.
But the sewers cannot cope. You know.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Because the pressure, when you're dropping, when you are flushing a toilet from the 4th floor coming down, yeah, that is pressure, speed, okay, and that's when this stuff blew up in their face, basically.
So as a person on the ground floor, it comes in at the lowest point, would have had shit all over the place.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, it's just, I don't know. It's a
And
grim.
then
We have a grim future ahead of us. Do we not? It's grim.
And then when the engineers came, that's how we found out about this.
Joe, we're losing you.
Okay, so they can lie to us, whatever. Yeah. We know that they tell us porky pies day in, day out. Yeah. Peter Mason comes to Mr. Sharma's meetings. Yeah. And he thinks he's playing table tennis with us. Yeah. But we have no right to hit the ball back at them. He's always bouncing the ball onto our side. They're deceivers. That's all they are.
Yeah.
They're
Joe,
chiseling
we've
little
got to think about
deceivers.
ways we need to get as many people as possible stating their objections.
Well,
do you think maybe at the weekend we can do some door knocking and get
Angela,
people?
I'm Angela. I'm always there, but what you've got to try to understand is, and I've said many times in the past, unfortunately, Southall, money talks, bullshit walks. It's always been like this, and it always will be like this unless we bring in change. And the only way that we can bring in change is through the ballot box.
Yeah.
Because they've got their cronies everywhere. They've got their cronies everywhere. They've got them in temples. They've got them
who live in South, who don't live in
Angela,
Gerrard's Cross and Aylesbury, all those places, who are bearing the brunt of these decisions.
Angela is much deeper, okay? It's much deeper, okay? Mr. Sharma stood and took the word I'm looking for, or disrespected the Sikh, okay, by his hand signals. But the committee on Sunday, they gave him the platform to speak. All right. So all I'm trying to tell you is they're far too deep than we think they are. Okay. They're based in religious houses. They're based in churches. Okay. They're selling us out, basically. That's what I would like to say. We are being sold out. Yeah.
Signing us to an early death, then, Joe. This is what it means.
By our so-called religious leaders are selling us out also, combined with our councillors, our MP. They're all in it together. Okay. That's what we've seen over the weekend. What I've just told you.
Yeah.
It's an absolute disgrace. What we're living through in Southall is an absolute disgrace. And it's very deep rooted.
Yeah. I'm conscious of the time, and I promised the people who've been in contact with Cash, who live in Hayes, to discuss I think it's principally going to be FM Conway, but it could also be tarmac as well. Jan, do you want to talk about the tannoy and the likely source of the noise? Because I'm more than happy, if it's on a day that I don't have to go to work, is to investigate with you and go down the access road to Conway and see if we can ascertain where the tannoy is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, what it is, guys, is that normally on a Sunday morning, in the early hours of the morning, it could be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I hear a tannoy going off in the middle of the night. This has been going on now for months. I reported it to FM Conway probably about a year ago about how I was hearing this in the middle of the night, and because it's so quiet, you can hear it. They assured me that they were going to turn it down and that it was for security reasons, blah, blah, blah. Well, it started up again a few months ago. So again, I rang FM Conway reporting it, and then some lady rang me back to say, oh, it's definitely not us because we're not a 24-hour operation. So whilst walking the dog a few weeks ago, I got talking to some people on the barges and the boats down by FM Conway. And I didn't mention FM Conway. I just said to them, do you hear the tannoy in the night? And they said, yeah, it's coming from FM Conway. Now, I think it was Friday or Saturday, I was coming along the 312 and I was stuck in traffic there. So I put my windows down of the car and I heard the tannoy again. And it's definitely coming from FM Conway. So what I'm doing now is every time I hear it, see, the problem is now it's getting into winter, I have my window shut in the night. But what I'm going to start doing is leaving the windows open, and I'm going to start making a detailed diary of the times, the dates, etc. of it. But like you, Ange, I'm interested to prove that it is FM Conway. So what I might do this weekend is I might walk along the roads that are adjacent to FM Conway on the other side of the road.
What time are you thinking of doing that?
I'm not sure. It depends when I've got the dog. If I've got the dog
okay.
this weekend, and maybe just ask people, local residents that are opposite that new development in Hayes, you know, do they hear it as well? Because if I hear it, they must definitely hear it.
Yeah, because they've got no right to be disturbing your sleep at night.
It's noise pollution.
No matter whether it's summer or winter, you shouldn't have to shut if you want your windows open for a bit of fresh air. Oh, that's ironic, isn't it? When they pump the air for the crap anyway. But no, the point is they shouldn't be. That's noise pollution. Yeah. And but as I said, I'm more than happy to come with you to try and ascertain. And you know, I believe you that for your own investigations that you've identified FM Conway, and they've obviously tried to fob you off on the phone, saying it's not us, it must be somebody else. But we need to go and knock on the door and ask to speak to somebody senior in the organisation. Yeah, I mean, what I can do is, perhaps send a letter from Cash. Yeah, but another big issue, not just the booming tannoy, is the stench from FM Conway and possibly tarmac as well. And there are people who live, I think it must be the development, it's called, is it Hayes Village? It's near the station. And they're complaining about the fumes and, they are struggling with it, yeah? So I had someone contact me on Facebook about it, and she's not the only one. Other residents in that development are complaining, and somebody separate to her has complained about it on X, which is obviously formerly Twitter. So they're at their kind of like wits end. What do? They've complained to Hillingdon Council. I don't know if they've reached out to John McDonnell. I said, yeah, try and get him on board. But I think, we need to think about what we can do as a campaign, because the stench is terrible. I was at home during August on holiday, and I feel like the month was mostly wasted, apart from when I went to Weymouth. for a week. It, you know, the stench most days. I didn't know whether I was coming or going, right? I felt like I was flipping whacked around the head with a kipper. Totally disorientated, not being able to make good use of my time because, you know, naturally, you know, you want to have your windows open in the summertime. The stink was terrible. I remember being at a meeting, I think, with, I don't know if it was GCU meeting or a cash meeting or Southall Matters, but I had to stop mid-flow because the fumes were coming in. So I thought, I can't deal with it. It's doing my head in. You know, and perhaps if I'd been more on it, I would have thought about mobilising earlier to challenge Berkeley Group's planning application because they started their consultation back when. So what do we do? You know, do we do a protest outside of FM Conway? Do we demand a meeting with them? Because, you know, Sadiq Khan's putting all the emphasis on ULEZ, but within our midst, we've got two huge polluters who use diesel to make asphalt. And I think it looks grim every time I'm on the A312, or not every time, but, you know, quite often, you can see the chimneys billowing towards us, you know, if there's a westerly wind. It's a pretty horrific sight. And it's not just a sight, it's the stink of asphalt.
But
You know,
and it's not only coming from the chimney, because as when I got stuck on the A312 the other day, like you say, you know, they store the tar in the sheds. So you have all the fumes coming off the piles of whatever they're storing there. I even noticed that in that big building, they have the doors open on the side of the building, and all the fumes are coming out of there as well. So, you know, it's no point just having it coming out of the chimney. They are not keeping to within, well, my opinion is they're not keeping within the rules of what they should be doing because, you know, why have the doors open?
Because, you know, they were inspected by the Environment Agency, both plants, and, you know, not found to be contravening any aspect of their permits. But we have to put up with this. It's killing us. No two ways about it. And you know what? You know, I'd like to say to these companies, what are you doing to move away from using diesel? You know, it's all well and good, you know, us going on as a nation about diesel cars being bad and, you know, emissions, you know, needing to be sort of controlled and, you know, the drive towards electric vehicles and walking and cycling and all the rest of it. But we've got two industrial plants within basically residential areas pumping out shit into the sky. Excuse my language. But, you know, it's not just a bad smell. We are inhaling toxins, you know, VOCs. And I remember, if you remember, we did a petition, right? And I presented to Ealing Council, and somebody said on it, ever since FM Conway started up, my asthma has become worse. Yeah, that's what the person said. They linked a worsening of their asthma with the pollutants, which were really noticeable, and they're still noticeable today. So I think, you know, as a campaign, we've got to start thinking about what can we do. You know, we've done the protests on the Green Quarter and outside of the station. Basically, FM Conway and Tarmac feel probably they're untouchable. We need to start taking it to them and saying, look, this is what you were doing to our community. Yeah. So you know me, I'll turn up and do a protest. But happy to start with writing and say, look, can we have a meeting which is open to all residents who want to attend? I don't see why they should be averse to that, because there is a sewage treatment works in Isleworth called Mogden, right? And Thames Water hold regular meetings with residents because it stinks. I'm not saying, you know, that's resolved issues, but there needs to be dialogue. And they've never spoken to us directly. So I'm willing to go down that road, but also wouldn't rule out actually doing peaceful protests. Arjan, you've got your hand up. Please go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. So I just wanted to say that I was sitting by the I was standing by the green quarter outside the station, and somehow I can get like I can feel like I felt quite nauseous, really dizzy. I mean, I'm not sure whether because if it's built on the old gasworks, is it the gasworks that, is it the gases from there, if they're still on that land? Is it, am I smelling that or what? And another problem
Probably
I
a
have is,
mixture of things, we've
yeah,
also
yeah,
got a lot of cars, a lot of diesel vehicles up and down South Road. South Road is just ridiculously busy.
even
most
now,
of the time.
even in the evening, I just come from South Road, Angela. I'm on the bus now. I just come from South Road. It was absolutely empty. And still, even the green quarter was empty, Angela. Whether through the entrance opposite the station, but still, I felt really, really, really dizzy, really, really sick.
Yeah, the pollution
I'm lucky I got
on that site.
Yeah.
As I said, I've been on the site recently, and it absolutely was stinking.
And then you get another thing I want to speak about is that remember we were speaking about Sam's recycling over. It's the Sam's recycling over the phone call a few weeks ago.
Sorry, say that again?
That's been. Do you know the Sam's recycling thing we were talking about?
Sam's recycling, yeah.
Yeah, that has gotten worse. In my opinion, that's gotten worse in terms of like the odor, the pungent odor that comes from there.
You see, I drove past Balfour Road Industrial Estate today, and I could see smoke. Somebody was burning plastic, but it wasn't coming from Sam's recycling. You know what? I think basically that estate, sorry, I nearly swore, is flaming lawless. They seem to be able to do as they like, and don't seem to be really managed. I've reported it to the Environment Agency before, because that burning plastic is not good for us to be inhaling. They need to have a waste contract in place and have their waste taken away and disposed of properly, not burning it. It's disgusting. Yeah. Going back to the asphalt plants, would you join with us, Arjan? If we felt the only way to get them to listen would be to start doing some protests outside, would you stand with us?
Of course. I mean, we did the same. I remember us as a group, we did the protest about the same thing last year on the 29th of October.
Oh, outside of Sam's recycling. Not averse to doing it again, but I think we'll start with different measures. I'll write to both asphalt plants and say, where is your engagement with the community? If Thames Water can meet with residents in Mogden, in Isworth near Mogden sewage treatment works, you should be doing the same. You are a polluter in our community, and it's not good enough. We need to know what you are doing to become less polluting. What alternatives are there to burning diesel to make asphalt? Yeah, so they should be communicating with us. We need to put the pressure on.
Yeah.
Also, and we need to ask them about their noise pollution.
Exactly. As well, the whole lot, because they are being antisocial in the way that they're behaving in this community. So I will communicate with the residents in Hayes and say, this is what I will do. I'll send a letter to both asphalt plants. If they ignore the letter, then we need to step up and take direct action, which we have done. Yeah,
Angela, we need to do more action. Like I said in the Southall Matters last month, we're doing the talk, but there's no the action. We need to start the action. Just get it rolling.
Yeah, but the only thing I say, there needs. I mean, obviously, we've got people, Jan, Rashpal, also
Joe Bangu, you got everybody,
Sophie
Sofian.
and Joe, but we need more people. It can't just be the same old faces.
I'll join you guys.
I
I'll
can't
join you
stress it
guys
enough.
then.
The pollutants are killing people. It
I'll
might
join
not
you
be
guys
that
then.
it's not like
Yeah.
being knocked down, they get killed straight away. But we are slowly dying because of what's being embedded in our lungs, our hearts, our kidneys,
forget-
livers, so on, all that particulate matter. And as I said, I felt like my August was, I felt like swearing, but I feel it was a total waste, right? Because I was in my home, and the fumes were ridiculous, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think part of the time my kids were at their dad, and then we had some respite down in Weymouth. And when you leave London, I'm sure you guys have done that at a short break somewhere, you notice the difference, don't you?
Oh, I went to Greece, Angela. I went to Greece, right?
Yeah.
Weather was brilliant. There was absolutely no asphalt plants near me. There was absolutely, no housing near me. I had a beautiful sea view and I enjoyed myself. And then coming back here, it's just like, oh, we're back in I'll come from a beautiful holiday destination to a slum. It's just like, and
it's grim, isn't it? Does anybody else feel like, you feel sort of chesty and you got a bit of a cough? And I know,
Angela, like now I'm feeling really lightheaded. Just walking along Greenland Crescent.
I believe you 100%, because the fumes from, I think we've got to be honest here, it's not just the gasworks, but also from the number of vehicles, and the asphalt plants and the rogue traders on the estate, Balfour Industrial Estate, burning everything and anything, is contributing to very toxic, harmful air in Southall.
And also is what people are emitting from home. Like now, I've just gone past someone who's got a little pipe and like that's releasing some sort of like heat or gas or something. I don't know what it is. Out, and it's just doing it into the open air.
What, from a house? Did you say?
Yeah. I'll send you a picture when I'm out Friday. I'll send a picture and I'll show you what I mean.
Yeah, it's bad. The number of people who have bonfires.
Yeah, I just need
I haven't been to a recycling centre for a long time, but if you've still got a book online, it's a bit of a faff, isn't it? Not everybody's got access to, the internet. And it's, oh God, if you've got to book a slot, what slot? I've got to think about what time to go. You can't just rock up at, the recycling centre on a Saturday morning. It seems to have changed. And as you know, Southall is beset by people just chucking their mattresses and what else do they chuck on the road? Bags of food rubbish from the outhouses that people are illegally living in and so on. Yeah, but some people might decide, actually, I'm going to just burn this plastic or whatever in my garden. It's bad. But yeah, let's look at tackling the asphalt plants as well as getting people to actually object to an outrageous, outlandish application to cram the gasworks with taller high rises, with more people putting a strain on the infrastructure, but also more construction exposing us to contaminated dust and more pollutants which are deep within the soil at the Greenwater. Okay.
I'm
aware of the time.
I want to go back to transport quickly.
Yeah.
All right. Today, surprisingly, all the trains ran on time. I'm not sure if you saw the chat. I put it in the chat. Elizabeth Line trains run on time.
Okay. That's
Uh,
the turn up for the books, isn't it?
it's a really. I am surprised that the train actually arrived 2 minutes early as well. So yeah, I managed to get into Southall by the time I wanted today, which is a
Yeah.
really
Well, more
surprising thing.
regular, reliable services.
Yeah, I mean, it
Will
needs to
make
be
a
like,
difference. It remains to be seen, with all the revenue collected from
yeah.
ULEZ and dropping speed limits down on the A4 to 30 and 20 miles an hour.
What
Whether that
TfL
really is
have
going to make
proposed,
a difference to public
yeah.
transport. But
But
anyway, I'm
what
really
TfL
conscious of the
proposed is so
time.
dangerous. So
Yeah. Arjun,
yeah,
we'll pick these topics up again at the
yeah.
next Southall Matters meeting, which I believe is on the
26,
22nd of
22nd,
this month.
Yeah.
Rashbal, thank you very much for your contribution about the antisocial behaviour and how it's affecting the quality of your life. And this is important for people to know and understand. And it also corroborates what Jan was saying about feeling unsafe, walking along with groups of young men hanging around street corners. And obviously what I shared with you guys about, this is broad daylight, somebody getting out of a car with a machete to chase another man. We can't ignore a feeling of being unsafe. But anyway,
Things like this need to be
please,
reported
can
to the
I
police.
stress,
Yeah.
we have to lead by example. So you need to go on the website, and I've shared the link in our WhatsApp groups to register your objections to Berkeley Group's planning application. Yeah, I'm not at work on Thursday, so I intend to dedicate my time to doing just that. So thanks, everybody.
Angela, we need to, in order to get things going, we need to draw up a plan, what's going to happen, when, what, where, how, and all that sort of stuff. I think,
Will you
we
help
come
with
out with
that?
all these good ideas.
Will you send me your proposal on that? Because
Yeah, no, I think
I
if we
need
like
some.
you and I at least do a face-to-face meeting, like draw up a plan, like you and me, and and we can ask Joe if he wants to join because he is the chair of cash. So if us three meet up in person at the Moti Mahal restaurant, like as usual, we can draw with Joe's knowledge, draw up a plan and kind of go by that.
Yeah, that's the next step. We have to have
we're on. It's an easier way of
face-to-face
keeping track and putting a tick in it. So
yeah. But what I'm going to do, as I said, right, this recording is going to be put on our YouTube channel. Please help by sharing it with all your contacts and making the time well before the 22nd of December to lodge your objections. And I think if people log on and they see objections, then it will encourage them to do the same. Yeah?
I think there's been more objections. Last time I checked, there's been a couple of more. I think it was. I think,
well,
but because of
and I could only see 3. But as
because
I said, I'm at work tomorrow.
I feel lightheaded now, and I've got a headache because I'm smelling all that gas stuff. So
have a lie down, have a rest.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna have to say goodnight. I'm gonna stop the recording now. Okay, and I will share this on YouTube as soon as possible.